Greetings. Maybe I put on my headphones. I'm not sure how the audio quality is with my current setup. I'll be right back. But greetings. I wish you a lovely morning, good day. It is a day, and we're going to continue playing our Eurofront series, and we're going to dive in and we're going to explore how this experience goes. And I probably should start the recording. I probably should start hey, good morning. Hi, War Gamers. How you doing? But that's not how we do it on this channel. Hold on. This channel, I mean, if you can't tell already, is pretty casual gaming, but casual gaming with I would say some kind of density, right? Magnetic density, some kind of flux. It's the flux. Ugh. Except our flux is about military operations and the volume of manpower involved in breakthrough operations that we saw in World War II. The most famous one is the Soviet deep strategy of war, deep penetration theory, deep penetration. Let's look it up. Deep penetration Soviet theory. Oh, I'm not connected to the internet. Oh my gosh. Let me see here. So, and then of course, being the apparent boomer that I am, which is basically what generation is that? That is not millennial, although I am a millennial. Apparently, it's the baby boomer generation. But here it says modern deep penetration Soviet theory. This is on Bing.com. The concept of deep penetration, also known as Soviet deep battle, has evolved over time, adapting to modern warfare conditions. It's talking about recent conflicts. I'm not sure how recent this page is. I think this is by Copilot AI. So I have no idea. I have no idea what they mean by recent conflicts, but we'll dive in. We're going to dive into the theory. But of course, we're speaking as war gamers. What is a war gamer? Someone who enjoys studying wars, is my best understanding, and doesn't only study it, but also explores it, analyzes it, experiences it, and that's the so-called art of military history. But then there is the science of military history, which is a lot more analytical and involves a lot more basically military science. So there is military art and military science depending on where you decide to go and study. But, the university system does exist, although limited, does exist in both military science and military arts. Most of it is designed for people who are training to become officers, so officer corps in different countries. I know that Hungary, for example, at the present moment has a very interesting program. I know that the United Kingdom has a plethora of military history programs. I'm not sure of too many others in Europe. You would think there would be one in Germany in 2026, but there is not. There's a great YouTuber called Military History Visualized. If I remind myself, I'll put a link of that in the video. But check out his channel. This man is a 21st century historian, military historian. His channel taught me so much about World War II. I haven't watched it very recently because I've been busy with other tasks, but it's something that I would like to circle around to. I mean, this man is going to shows where they're driving around Leopard tanks, and I believe they drove around a Panther, Mark V Panther tank as well in Germany. I think it was in Germany, the event, or it may have been in the United Kingdom. It was somewhere in Europe. So when it comes from a machinery perspective, there is a deep culture in Europe that is thriving with World War II equipment. And people have uniforms, people have, I believe, even armaments. They have aircraft. There's Messerschmitt Bf-109s that are still active even to this day. Very difficult plane to fly, but there's a very living, physical, living, breathing experience when it comes to studying and experiencing World War II as a history. But when it comes to studying the kind of more military kind of architecture or military hierarchy and so on and so forth, that's where, the mainstream kind of loses its edge. And I'm not exactly sure why. I think the stigma in the 20th century was because if you love to study National Socialist military operations, you were classified as a Nazi, effectively, at least in social mainstream. And then there's, in the United States, the term neo-Nazi is thrown around quite a bit, and they actually have quite a plethora of equipment as well. But there's also a lot of like misinterpretation when it comes to a lot of this equipment, and do people do become the very famous term wearaboos, which are basically Wehrmacht fans. I used to be a wearaboo myself, and basically live under the presumption that the Wehrmacht is the most superior army of all time. But when you actually study the history, and more history is coming out even in 2026, the reality was very different. And a lot of it has to do with equipment, a lot of it has to do with doctrine, and it's much more noticeable in the West than in the East because the Red Army had a plethora of challenges and difficulties as well. But I think it was really the U.S. Army, speaking as an American, right? It's the U.S. Army that is kind of known by many as the supreme, most powerful army of World War II. And I think the argument is relatively justified when you look at the volume of equipment, when you look at the nature of manufacturing, when you look at how many artillery shells that were available, what other stats? I mean, weapons like the M1 Garand, right, which had 8 rounds versus the standard Kar 98K, which only had 1 round and a 5 round clip. You had to reload per round per shot. All of that is very tactical in nature. I believe the industrial side is a bit more mysterious. Now, a game like Eurofront does a very simple job at capturing some of the more subtle, strategic, industrial nuances in the game because a lot of it does come down to volume, mass production, and I think the term here is volume. And I'm speaking as a chemical engineer. I studied chemical engineering. And one of the inspirations for why I studied chemical engineering was because I had a curiosity about petroleum in World War II. There's another excellent historian that speaks about oil. I haven't even read his entire article yet, but I think it's worth a read. I may put a link down below. We'll see if we can find it. But like oil in World War II, I think his name is Anthony. Paper, scientific paper. It's extremely long. I did a quick Google search to see if anything pops up. Oil and War, How the Deadly Struggle for Fuel of World War II. I think this may be it. Except this was written in 1989, so I believe it's not. It's by Sanford Kaplan. The one I'm thinking about is much more recent. It actually comes from Georgetown University, historian at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And I believe my audience is mostly American. Right now, I'm not getting too many comments, but I shouldn't say that, right? Like, we got 87 views in the last video, so that made me extremely excited that we have an audience that is engaging with the channel. And I got 2 likes, so I know that there's at least 2 historians out there, and that's really all we're looking for, right? Is a group of people, very dedicated group. Personally, I'm of the philosophy quality over quantity, but of course, if you want to win World War II, you want to have both. You want to have the quality and the quantity, which I believe is what the Americans were able to pull off. They would have extremely high quality equipment, arguably better than the Germans, and they had the quantity to back it up. So I think, yeah, collection. Maybe his name is Anthony Cave. It doesn't sound right to me. Let me see. I'm gonna open up academia.edu. And let's see if this is the right paper or not. But I have at least 3 World War II sources outside of this game that I kind of want to hint at. This channel, of course, is dedicated to the war gaming, but if you are noticing already, I have so much more to talk about. But I think the game is a good like setting, kind of capture the essence. It's a good starting place to kind of explore what I'm trying to get into in the long term, which is basically study, I think the term is the architecture of industrial production in World War II. It has a lot to do with combat because, the Battle of Kursk, for example, Operation Citadel, was directly affected by how many Panther and Tiger tanks were available in the battle. And a lot of them broke down because they were rushed into the front line because of the limited nature of production. This is not the author, so I did my best. I put a few minutes in there. This could be a research dedicated channel, but I think we're not exactly trying to do that. I think we're trying to play the game, right? Now, in the future, I do hope to play with some of you. When I have like a nice, comfortable space. If I go back to the United States, that would be something worth exploring. I may have to reach out to a few Dutch players that I was playing with back in 2020 during the year of COVID, and I may have to reach out to them if I ever do go to Europe and say, "Hey, I'm in Europe. I'm in Belgium. I probably won't go to France, but I'm in Belgium. Do you want to meet up and play a game?" Because they have busy lives. I mean, the people who are playing Eurofront are extremely busy people. And that's the thing, right? Like being a historian, I think in the 21st century requires us to be active in many other ways of life. It doesn't mean that we're simply a specialist and we are working like full time on the task. I think there are some who do, and they are the ones who end up working at the museums, or they work in the archives, or they work in the historical centers, and so on and so forth, which are vibrant locations. And there's a bunch to explore across Europe. I mean, speaking as an American, it's my obligation, it's my responsibility as an American to go to Normandy, right? I mean, and I'll probably visit like, you know, um, the cliffs of not cliffs of Dover. Oh my gosh, I had to visit the cliffs where the Call of Duty 2, right? For gamers out there, visit the cliffs that took the French artillery in the western flank of the Omaha landings. Again, what is the name of that actual location? You have to be very good with terminology, but they were attacked by U.S. Rangers. So we can do like U.S. Rangers landings at Normandy, and they have a name. It's a relatively famous name. And it's like that's probably the first place I'll visit. I don't really have too much interest in visiting Normandy per se, or excuse me, Omaha per se, because I mean the story's been told so many times. Um, but let's see if we can find the name. Oh, Point du Hoc. It's not a cliff, it's a point. That's probably the first place I would visit. I really can't really imagine anywhere else I would want to visit, especially since I played the Call of Duty 2 map, which was very historically aligned, very historically accurate map from a designer's perspective. And it captured the battle extremely well, and it was fought with only a few hundred Rangers. I think by the end of the battle, there was only 250 Rangers alive and about 50% casualties by the end of the fighting. But they succeeded. It was a small, minor battle, but it was significant in the larger picture of the operation. And that's the part that's very fascinating. So, yeah, I had the obligation to go to Normandy as an American. I think that's the one trip that I will do in my lifetime. I'm not sure when, but I'm thinking if I were to do it, why not play, 1944 Eurofront game scenario? I think it would be extremely exciting to do that, play with a Frenchman or something along those lines. So with that said, let's jump into the file and let's see how much we can kind of extract from this game. I think the game speaks for itself. I don't have to speak for the game too much. But let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can cook up. I mean, I've already done a lot of deep analysis in the previous videos. Let's see if we can actually start playing the game. It's December 1942, presumably December 1st, or maybe like December 2nd, 1942. And we're going to start with the British. And it's winter. And our game scenario is, kind of in that what if territory. There's some really interesting what if books, but a lot of them, you can't really treat them as legitimate history because we really don't know. I think Indy Nine Dale says it super well. History doesn't happen in a vacuum. Even if Japan succeeded at Midway, we don't know what implications happened thereafter, or even if Japan, say, attacked or didn't attack Pearl Harbor, there was still a U.S. Army base of B-17s in the Philippines, and at the time, they were used as a weapon of deterrence because the B-17 was presumed to be the super fortress bomber that was going to be able to change the nature of warfare itself because it was a very long range bomber and it could have struck anywhere in the Pacific. Pretty much. I don't know if I had the range to attack Tokyo from the Philippines. It's a great question, but I would imagine that the B-17 could pull it off under the right conditions. But the Japanese understood it as a threat. The Americans were using it as a threat. Everyone saw it as a threat, even though the actual performance of the B-17 as an anti-shipping aircraft was abysmal in 1942 because they were doing, horizontal bombing against moving ships. And as you can imagine, attacking a moving ship, horizontal bombing, if you've played a game like IL-2 Sturmovik and you've tried to attack a ship with a horizontal bomber, you realize that it's immensely difficult to do. Now, if you play a game like War Thunder, which I may put a link below as well, as part of the marketing strategy here. But if you put I'm going to explain myself. I love explaining myself. I'm going to explain myself why I explain myself. My point is, it's very hard to do. So, anyways, I love talking. It's awesome, and there's a lot of topics to talk about. I've been told things like, you're weird. I've been told that something's wrong with you. I've been told that like I believe what it is a combination, a very powerful combination of ADHD and like some kind of Asperger's, meaning like Asperger's makes a burger out of you and me. And it's like when you combine those two, it's like, my gosh, you end up becoming a historian, apparently, a 21st century gaming historian. And that essentially is what this channel is. I mean, so I'm definitely doing better. Some of my previous videos, I didn't like my hair very much, but regardless of talking about my personal side of my journey, this is to me a fascinating experience. And maybe I have to do a live stream or something like this, but I find it very fascinating. Oh, look at this. This place is called Preston, and there's a place called Douglas in the UK, in United Kingdom, or in the proper British Empire. You got Douglas and Preston. I used to live in a place called Preston Court in Catonsville, Baltimore County. Baltimore is where the Liberty ships were built, by the way. So shout out to Baltimore, which doesn't have the Liberty ships today, nor the shipyards to this day. I'll tell you that much. It's probably a deeper reflection of where like American history is right now, as of 2026. If you're speaking as an American, and if you're from the South, it's very abundant and clear that the history is relevant and yet still mysterious. And then you've got Douglas, which I mean, they were the ones who manufactured some of the most powerful anti-shipping aircraft in the war. Um, I think I'm thinking of a particular airplane, right? Let me see. And so I obviously have to improve the hardware here. If we want to do like quick, just like Google searching every new term that we can come across and like research it as we play a game like this. I think it would be kind of a cool experience. Shout out to Joe Rogan and his podcast because he's like, hey, Jamie, look that up. And he's like, he got somebody already there who's able to look up information and like they talk about anything they want. So anyways, Douglas aircraft. Let me see. If I just put in Douglas aircraft, what pops up? Is that the DC-3? Yeah, it is the DC-3, guys. Come on. All right. So yeah, I'm definitely cuckoo for, like ice cold, frozen, you know, chocolate chips. That's what we got here, guys. And so yeah, um, I gotta say big shout out to Andrew, Django, who he was an excellent historian. And he was the only person that I played against that was able to beat me in Eurofront, by the way. Beat me the second time in Eurofront. But yeah, aircraft, vehicles, the list goes on. And that part is very alive. My main point here is that that part is very, very, very alive in the channel, or very alive in the world of World War II enthusiasts, but the more like architectural industrial side it requires you to be a bit more. If we had to use like a World War II analogy, I think you have to be a bit more goring about it and maybe less Albert Speer. And that's my best analogy there. And of course, Goring was quite a character But his understanding of industry was abysmal, right? And yet they still were able to manufacture. I think Goring successfully developed very powerful Luftwaffe divisions that were used eventually using Flak 88s to blow off T-34s somewhere near Stalingrad, presumably. So, anyways, let's go ahead and go into the file. I didn't prepare a cup of coffee or anything like that, but I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to gauge my audience, right? Are we kind of like more conservative audience, if or are we more like liberal? I guess is my question. Are we more right or are we more left? Are we right, not left? What's my audience like? And I'm gonna have to pretty much I guess take a wild guess on that until I get more feedback from you guys. I so far got 2 likes in the last video, and then I got like 87 views, which is pretty high. And then what else? There was something else too that was pretty interesting. And I got good comments. I do have a consistent audience. I want to say thank you for just being patient with all my cookiness and all my Asperger, autism, whatever you want to call it, ADHD, and so on and so on and so so having said that, with that said, every piece of knowledge or every piece of wisdom is both a blessing and a curse, and it depends on how you use it. And so for me, for many years, it's been a curse. I used World War II as escapism to avoid like trauma with people I knew. But I'm beginning to realize that if you are able to let go of that trauma, you still have this very powerful, very rich piece of knowledge that you can use to study the world and study the world, say today. But if you're more curious and if you're more of a historian, you can always study where Europe or where the world was maybe 50 to 100 years ago, right? That's where it is for me. And I think World War II is still very relevant, but I don't think World War II is going to be relevant forever. I think eventually, by like the end of the 21st century, depending on what happens in the 21st century, depending on what happens in like say Taiwan, you know, if there's a fourth Taiwanese crisis in our lifetime, but I think World War II will become somewhat irrelevant. But the reality is that the scale of World War II was so large that it didn't, that like it's very hard to top the scale and I was gonna say the volume that World War II had in terms of people involved, industries involved, companies involved, fabrication involved, and so on and so on and so on, etc., etc. All right, we'll start with the British. The British are pushing on to Libya. I'm going to activate the Mediterranean Theater HQ. And all I'm going to do is advance this 21st Army Group, which I believe is technically the British 8th Army at the present moment. We're going to advance to Sirte. And then from Sirte, we're now in striking range of Tripoli. We have this long road. The production, the logistics is basically double of what it would be otherwise if we were in the port of Benghazi. And so the result there is that the British are advancing. We had a very successful breakthrough here in Misurata. I believe we destroyed the Africa Corps. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while. Let's see here. I don't see it there. But presumably, from what I recall, either we destroyed it or we significantly, I think we destroyed the Africa Corps. I have no idea actually what happened. We'll see that on the Axis side. I played different scenarios because of the log files, but basically it was a decisive win for the British, is my understanding. And now they are still at full strength and in striking range of Tripoli. The only problem that the British Army has, it has a heavy punch, but they're logistically sluggish. And I think that's a reality for a lot of formations, and it's very real for Montgomery's 8th Army at the present moment. So that's that. That's all we have to do with the British. Now we'll switch over to Soviets, and I did a deep dive analysis on the Soviet side. And I was talking about the deep Soviet strategy of penetration. I think to respect myself, I want to finish reading that. But it says that I just wanted to stop reading because it said in recent conflicts, and I'm not trying to dive too much into recent conflict. If you do study recent conflicts, I say advise you, like warning, That stuff is deeply traumatizing. Be careful with the knowledge and information that you digest. You know, you are the gatekeeper of your mind. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. And because of that, it's like you have to respect the knowledge. And so if you are, as I'm sure you are, and if you're following the series this much, you are somebody who probably probably you're probably in a dice roll, I would say maybe a 5 out of a 6. You are probably in one die. You probably are somebody who absorbs a lot of information. And so I say just be careful. My simple advice and suggestion, speaking from a place, being a wise guy, I'm saying be careful with the knowledge that you digest because you may unknowingly be affecting yourself in deeper ways. And so I say just be aware of that, be conscious about it, stay conscious, stay present, and that will be the medicine that allows you to continue doing whatever exploration, whether scientifically, artistically, historically, allow you to explore all that, but do it in a way where you're taking care of your health, right? And again, I'm speaking again primarily as an American, once again, because Americans struggle a lot with their physical health, and it shows. So I say just be careful of that, be aware of that. You know, have an apple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I may even grab an apple for this video, or maybe at the end of this video, because the audio is going to probably be making me make all these noises. But let's see here. I'm going to read the modern deep penetration Soviet theory. I don't understand why it says modern. I think that might be a translation, I'm presuming, but like I don't believe it's modern. But it says the concept of deep penetration, also known as Soviet deep battle, has evolved over time, adapting to modern warfare conditions. Maybe there's some story there in Afghanistan. Again, we would have to play an Afghanistani game in order in order to really understand what the Soviets were up to with this modern version of the deep penetration Soviet theory. I find it ironic that it's saying modern, even though there is no Soviet Union in 2026, last I checked. In recent conflicts such as the Ukrainian and Iran theaters, deep penetration strategies have been executed with precision that original theories could never have imagined. The Maven Smart system, developed by Palantir Technologies, represents a modern application of deep operations, utilizing AI and autonomous systems to strike an adversary entire territorial depths with speed and efficiency. This evolution highlights the enduring relevance of Soviet deep penetration theory in contemporary military strategy. Interesting, interesting. This channel, by the way, is for my English speaking audience. So there is a lot to unpack on that. This is actually what Wikipedia is talking about. I find that very, very, very interesting. It says war, part of the series called War, Deep Operation, and there's a lot to read. I almost want to dedicate an entire video to just simply reading this article. And maybe I will have to do that on my second channel, which is called Military Cryodynamics, and that channel is still very, very much at its infancy. But I'm thinking, this is more of the entertainment side. This is like, the version 2, right? This is more the gaming side. I don't know how, because of time, I don't know how much I can really go into this, but I would love to see that in this game. We'll see if it happens in this game. So speaking of which, we're doing the Soviets. We have a very powerful Soviet front. I kind of want to give this front a name. And I think, you know what I'm going to start doing, guys? I'm going to start activating a rule for the Red Army, which is that the Soviets are able to build um, uh, ghost formations. I just like, I understand that there's something that is like deeply wrong with this mechanism in the game. I'm not here to criticize the developers of the game. I could never develop a game as good as this with the current knowledge I have. So whatever these Dutch developers were able to develop, they clearly knew something that I still, even as of 2026, as a 30-year-old young man, still do not understand. I would have to talk to them, interview them, maybe ask them questions on BoardGameGeek.com. But my conclusion is that this is not the only game that has this problem. I experienced this also in Europe, in Gulf, and possibly in Axis and Allies. But my question is like, why is it that it's so hard to play as the Soviets? And why do I feel like there's a scarcity of Soviet formations? And I'm speaking really as a disciple of David Glantz, because David Glantz goes into the depth and the plethora of how many Soviet formations are. There are so many in his books that like it's you get a headache. You need like drinking a cup of coffee is not enough. You need to like drink more tea. I believe you like green tea at the most, maybe black tea, or maybe like just some other like non-caffeinated tea in order to get through the chunks of information that he has that are just packed in every sentence. He is the driest writer I've read, and he writes very dryly, right? Why? Because he doesn't all he's interested in is the information. He cares about the unit, the location, the event, what was happening, and that's it. There is no story arc that he really creates, at least not at the tactical level. Maybe in the strategic level, he starts talking a little bit more about like, what was happening with Stavka and all the many other organizations that were being formed within the communist regime of the USSR at the time. But besides that, from the army's perspective, from the army, it's all over the place. It's extremely complex, and I think it shows given how much manpower they had, right? Having said that, the deepest irony that I've learned about the Red Army in World War II, 1941 to 1945, the Great Patriotic War, is what? There's always a shortage of manpower. It's the biggest irony that I find is that the largest army, or I think it's the second largest army. I think the Wehrmacht was the largest. The Ostia or the Heer was the largest army actually. Maybe I think the Japanese had the larger army in 1945 with Operation Eagle or Hago when they invaded China, apparently in 1944. Something along these lines. I'm paraphrasing. I'm speaking in a very soliloquy style because why? I mean, manpower. It comes back to manpower. It seems to really come down to manpower consistently. And the Red Army had a massive shortage of manpower, partly because the reality, because they had a shortage of equipment. And that is something that I can speak quite confidently as an American, because Americans prioritized equipment more than manpower. And they had their own problems when it came to an excess of equipment, but they had the equipment. I find it very fascinating. It's a deeper story, like, something on a George Orwellian, Animal Farm understanding of like why was the big pig building the well right before it got blown up by the other angry farmers. But it has to do with, I think, again, that industrial kind of architecture, industrial production, and so on. So that is not something that a military historian really looks at. I think it's something that may fall under more of a historian of war because they're studying all the aspects of the war. They're studying the home front. They're studying a bit of the economies. They're studying the politics that was going on. And it's like if you really want to get a deeper essence of the entire conflict, you kind of have to study all of it, but it's like, how do you study all of it if there's simply like, for our sakes, from our perspectives, speaking as a community of scientists, it's infinite, right? The value, the volume of information, the volume of books that we're trying to read is infinite. It'll take you a decade. It'll take you 3 decades, 4 decades to read all the books if you want to really truly understand it. This is why, going to university does have its value, but it becomes a little bit trickier when the department doesn't even have a military history department. So, you actually would have to go to like you would have to go to West Point. You would have to become a military officer, and that's probably your best chances of becoming a World War II historian in the U.S. as of this year, or as of this era, would probably be going and studying at West Point as a military historian. That's my understanding. And you can take a few courses, very well designed courses by some really remarkable historians, but of course you have to stop being a civilian and actually enter the military. So, and of course, that's a massive life shift. That's what David Glantz and I think some of other notable historians did. David Glantz studied World War II when he was in West Germany throughout his career, and I believe he's like a 70, 80-year-old man. So you can do the math on that as far as to what time frame was he alive when he was writing the work that he was writing, and he was criticizing a lot of the limited information that people knew about the Red Army in the early 2000s or in the early 90s, and that changed a lot, has changed a lot over the last few decades. That's what I've understood. And he's absolutely right. So, anyways, this game, it's like, okay, we're playing as the Soviets. We have one notable front here. Let's see here. I love the explanations, don't I? But hopefully, if it's of value to you, and if this is if any of this is making sense, if any of this is making heads or tails, or you're able to want to be one of those people who can balance the coin right on the edge, please give the video a like, share it with somebody, share it with your best friend, or share it with a companion, a life companion. Watch it together on your TV. It's better than watching the news, I would say. It's more valuable than watching the news. And then what else? I would say you can share it. Share it on a platform, share it on Facebook. You can share it on any online platform. I mean, it's open season in that sense, right? As far as where you want to share it. But I'm going to play as the Soviets and I'm going to start building these formations. And I'm going to start just trying to change the game, or maybe I don't, right? And I just simply respect the mechanics of the game as it is. And we play it with the mechanics that we got, and we kind of leave it at that. I guess my question would be, comment below, do I change the rules of the Red Army, or do I play the game as is? I have no idea. Or I guess I can add this. Technically, it doesn't actually affect the gameplay, but I'm going to call this, I'll have to give it a name, and it's a front. That much it's clear. It's a front. I believe this will probably be just the name of it's not the Baltic front, right? It's not the Baltic HQ. It's going to have to be renamed. I'll probably call it something like the Southern Front. I'd probably call it the Bryansk Front, the Tula Front. Since Tula has fallen, it's kind of hard to give it a strategic name. What's the strategic position? It's the Moscow Front. Is it the Central Front? Is it I think it might be called like the South Central Fronts. Let's try that. Front South Central. And I guess I'll just put it SC for short, because I don't really, the Vassal engine, it's all black, it's kind of small, it's kind of hard to tell. Maybe if I go under preferences, under the general settings, can I do something to change that? Um, reverse left, okay, it's the stock view, okay, reverse, no. Use arrow keys to scroll. Oh, that's kind of handy. Disable automatic stack display. Um, that's interesting as well. Huh. I don't think mechanically, for the sake of the Vaso engine, I don't think we really have to change anything in that sense. I simply wanted to change the chat window. I kind of want to change the color scheme. Game messages, okay, system messages, my text, other text. Maybe I gotta change this. I gotta change the colors. Maybe we change it to like, I gotta change it to a bright color. I can change it to red. Let's see if that works. I don't think it did anything. Mm. Chat window. Okay, so this is the chat window. That's not actually what I'm trying to change. Oh, okay. I don't think that's what I'm trying to change. I'm trying to change maybe full font size. Let's make it larger. I'm gonna have to make the font. I'm gonna increase it to 28. Oh, no, that changed that. No, that's not what we needed. I'll leave it at 14. All right, but like I wanted to change this over here. Um, Now if I were very wise, would I leave it at 14 or do I change it to 15? Do I, here, this is what I'm gonna have to do. Chinese significance for number 15? I know that 14 apparently is a bad lucky number. It means, oh, it symbolizes completeness, harmony, family reunion, holds auspicious value in numerology and lunar calendar. Okay. And then if I just to verify, what is 14? I think 14 is a bad number. It means death. All right. So, I mean, I think 14 is actually pretty proper for a channel like this. But like, I don't know. Maybe I do like 14.5, something like that, right? I can take an average. Can I do that? Let me see. Did that round up? Oh, it's still there. 14.5. I mean, that has to be closer to 15, right? Because we are playing with, I think, death in a sense. Theoretical death, hypothetical death in a game like this. So I don't want to like be afraid of death. Certainly we'll die. I mean, we all die. We all kick the bucket. Um, but like I am also thinking like maybe I do 15 and just accept it and just kind of like accept it, guy. Like that's, work with that number. All right. I'm gonna accept that. I'm trying to think where was I when I was 15 years old? That was literally 15 years ago. That's half my life ago. And I'm trying to think like when I was 15, where was I? What was I doing? I think I was considering joining one of the academies in high school. I had finished middle school was 11, 12, 13, 14. I think I was a sophomore or maybe even I don't think I was around a sophomore or junior in high school at 15 years old. I was thinking about joining the academies. To be clear, I was thinking about the Coast Guard Academy at my during those years. Anyways, let's see what we can do with the Soviets. I'm gonna go ahead and activate Stavka and no undos. Like we're gonna try to do something with the Red Army. I think we need to do something with the Red Army. Um, Otherwise, if we don't do anything, nothing happens. But like the game is so delicate. If you make one mistake with the Red Army, it really pays the price. It really does. Um, and I think right now we're playing defensively with the Red Army, and it's like it shows because if you play defensively, you obviously like lose a lot of initiative. So I think all I'm going to do for this turn is prioritize defensively in an offensive manner. You can kind of think of it as a counteroffensive in a sense. But I'm just going to shift around Soviet reserves. I'm going to pull out, like, for example, the Soviet tank army. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to move in the first shock army into Kaluga. And then we'll put in the 20th. And then we're going to pull out the 24th. And then that's two strategic moves. I'm just make sure these areas are really stacked up strongly. What else can I do? I need stronger combat units. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and I moved up that army. That I needed that unit on the flank actually. But I'm putting in all my guard units in these areas. Pretty much, I'm committing all the Soviet guard units in these positions. I'm not really concentrating them anywhere else, and it shows. It's like I need more guard units, and I don't have any more. I don't have any more Soviet guard units available. So if I decide to attack on the flank, launch a grand operation on the flank, I probably will have to, um, like, unfortunately, not have any shock armies available. I'm gonna move this HQ down here. So I'm gonna put it there. I have a guard unit over here on Novgorod. I don't think it can stay there. I think I need to replace it with another unit. And so yeah, we clearly the Soviet units from a tactical perspective have been battered, and it shows. It really does. All right, so I did three strategic moves, right? No, I did one, two, three, four, five. Only got one more move left. That's it. I mean, like, I need 12 strategic moves per turn, and it's like I don't have any, which really, really does show. I guess I'm gonna move this 34th right here and just stick it there, and leave it at that. That's it. That's all I got for the Red Army. We could attack. Is there any good place to attack? Probably not. We do have, oh my gosh, we do have air support. And it's like it doesn't make sense to launch an airstrike. I want to attack, but it's like I guess we're not using the air power offensively. We're going to use the air power defensively, time and time again, and it's like it doesn't do enough to stop the Luftwaffe from its airstrikes. So yeah, I feel like it's a waste because we have double fire, air power, and it's like we're not even using it. So I think that's kind of a mistake. Activating HQs and not attacking. So there's that. That's all I got for this turn. All right, so now we're going to switch over to the Axis, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's see what I can do here. Let's see. The Germans have obviously like, I mean, their HQs are very strong, but our infantry have taken severe casualties as well. And I think the game plan for the Axis is to continue the momentum. The clear objective is to attack Kaluga. I think if we are going to attack Kaluga, we have to attack it hard and fast. That has to be the game plan. So I'm going to blitz right now. I think the Axis are the ones with the initiative. In the Winter 42, it's complete. This is a Stalingrad kind of scenario. But like trying to launch a river assault right into a Ryazan is almost impossible. It's pretty much a suicide run, right? So I don't think we're actually going to attack. I really want to attack Ryazan, but like the Soviets are stacked up deep. We can only send one infantry across. It's probably going to get slaughtered. I can move in a second unit, and chances are the Soviets are going to be able to counterattack and wipe us out either way. So I don't think we can do much with that. I just don't think it's possible. Now I want to attack with more infantry, Kaluga, but I can put in two in and two out. So I'm going to put one in unit in here. I'm going to put one unit out here. We need more Panzer. So you know what? I guess I already activated the HQ. We're not gonna deactivate it. Also, I'm not trying to like undo moves because it really does. It really, I'm beginning to notice it really does affect the game in significant ways. Um, and then I guess we'll pull out this. And then we got more infantry. I'm going to move these infantry, both of these units. Oh, I only got one infantry there. Yeah, we got a lot of HQs. We got armored units here. They're all under strength, though. That's the problem. I don't have any full strength panzers, and it's like I'm pretty sure we need full strength panzers if we want to attack correctly. I'll move a panzer corps over here. And then I got a bunch of HQs. Let's move an HQ army group south to the south. I got all my HQs stacked up over here. I got Army Group A as well. We got a lot of HQs. I want to put one HQ here. Probably not the best move, but I guess we'll do that. And then move that, and then swap out that, and that. All right. I think that's that. Put the airstrike marker here. Boom and boom. And then let's go ahead and do that. See how this goes. Oh, any other moves for the Germans? Let me see. I'm kind of, oh, it's actually winter. The Western Front is pretty abysmal right now. We did evacuate one unit, thank goodness. Okay, we did evacuate the Africa Corps from, oh my gosh, from from Libya. So that's good. All right, so that's very good. All right, but like we don't have any certificates on the Western. Actually, what I should probably do is activate OKH. It can actually operate at full efficiency on the Western Front. I don't think it can operate on the Mediterranean front, but I think I'm going to go ahead and activate it. And I'm going to try to use it. I'm thinking we need to put a pressure on the British here sooner rather than later. And so let me see what I got here. Let me see what I can cook up. I'm going to move the 64th here. Oh, yeah, let's move this over here. So that's two. I got another one. Uh, three, like so. And then what else? Um, it's three. I don't think there's much else to do. Um, Obviously the British could try to break out of the beachhead. I think we're just gonna surround the beachhead. One, two, three, four. Um, and then I think what I'll do is five and then six. I'm putting this in Army Group E in Amsterdam. And that way we kind of surround the British. And so that's OKH. Um, and then that's it. Nothing on the Eastern Front. Let's go ahead and do the battle at Kaluga. That's the only area that I'm actually going to attack, oddly enough. Um, yeah, I'm not going to attack anywhere else, which is pretty interesting that I've decided not to do that. Um, so let's do it. Airstrikes got half hits. Soviets roll. They got 3 hits. Ouch. One, two, three. And then, yep. And then let's see. I'm going to go ahead and do the Panzers will roll. No hits. Okay. Infantry got 1 hit. Okay. All right. So pretty heavy casualties for the Axis. That was 3 hits. I mean, the casualties have been very consistent. I'm gonna create a new line here. Winter 42. Axis is 3. The Soviets are 1. So that's about 66,000 casualties, right? And then we'll go ahead and do the Blitz phase. I'm going to pull out this unit, obviously, put this unit in. I'm also going to move in a Panzer Corps, move that in there. And then I'm going to move out this infantry, pull this infantry unit out. And then I think this infantry unit can go here, and this one's going to go there. And I guess I'll move another Panzer Corps this way. How are we doing? We're doing barely, like we barely have enough right now with the access, but they're doing pretty well. And then we'll move this one up here to the north. Nice. Boom. Yeah. And then I'll put the airstrike 1. It's also disrupted. Oh, I deleted it. No, no, it's no supply. Let's see. Oh, there we go. It's a disrupted because of the winter. Let's do it. Airstrike, no hits. Soviets roll. Oh, and they score yet another 3 hits. And they batter the infantry. The Germans lost. It's very similar to a World War I scenario, right? In Spanish, it'd be Primero Guerra Mundial, First World War, the Great War, not the Great Patriotic War, but the Great War. And it's like, oh my gosh, all right, they sustained 132,000 casualties and presumably like 1 week of fighting, something along these lines. But yeah, I'm actually realizing that, it does require a little bit of skill in this game. It's not like luck necessarily. There is some planning and there is some like malleability there as far as the mechanics of this game, right? The actual, I call it mechanics of the game. So let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the Panzer Corps. They did nothing. But the infantry do score hit. The Stormtruppen, right, with their flamethrowers, presumably, in the winter, I guess. I don't know if they actually have some flamethrowers or not right now, but they did make some progress. All right, and that's it. Um, the Germans inflicted, what, 50,000 casualties on the Soviets? So the Soviets are probably right now going through some remarkable, like, tactical change, right? But that is it. That's all I'm going to do for the Germans. I'm not going to attack anywhere else. And we can now move on to the next fortnight. We can switch back to the British. And let's keep this turn going. I want to see if I can get through the winter in this video file. Get through the entire winter would be ideal. But I might have to break it up into parts. I think I've found a relatively steady rhythm of breaking up each log file or each video file, same thing, into 3 sections per season. So you have 6 seasons or 6 sections rather per year in the game. So like basically every 2 months And I think operationally, that's a relatively reasonable tempo given the nature of operations in 1942. Go ahead and activate the British Eighth Army, and it's a very simple one and done. We're gonna flank. I'm gonna, yeah, I'll go ahead and flank with the 13th Corps, move in the infantry straight into Tripoli. We're moving the armor straight into Tripoli. Presumably, these are Sherman tanks right now that are available. And let's see, the Axis could launch more operations. I'm gonna go ahead and activate this, and I'm gonna try to move. Doesn't really matter because there hasn't been any revolts in the Middle East, and all these units are restricted, right? So it's like, but I guess if we take Tripoli in order to protect our supply lines, we want to advance with another unit. So let's go ahead and move. I'll leave the Palestinian unit behind. And we're going to move this unit via road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably faster if we move it via port. Or maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, we're going to activate that as well. Do we have a other HQ? Let's see. I don't think we do. It's mud. We could operate at half efficiency in the Mediterranean front. I think right now the British are pretty comfortable in the West. They're just simply sit there and lock down. Now, something that's important to note: this British HQ is being used as a regular port right now because of the Mulberry. But if the Axis attack this position, the Mulberry can't be used. And if it can't be used, what ends up happening, right? The consequence is that what's the consequence? Basically, whatchamacallit call it happens. The only the port can be used to withdraw formations. So presumably we could withdraw 3 units out of this position, but 1 unit's gonna have to be left behind. But because we want to establish a powerful defense, I say we just stack up and defend it like as if it was Gibraltar. That's pretty much the British strategy. It would appear to be the case. So that's it for the British. Pretty straightforward. We got an airstrike, double fire, attacking Tripoli. Let's see how it goes. Very makeshift defense. We got the Italian 10th Army defending, so it's up to the Italian Army to defend. They miss. Italian Army is not very good. The British roll, and they score 3 hits, and they all but wipe out the Italian Army. It's a slugfest. It's a slaughter. I don't know what to call it. I mean, British Italian units, I guess are surrendering at a tactical level. They run out of ammunition or something along these lines. Oh, and they're out of supplies. One of these units is also out of supplies as well. Uh, there we go. Out of supplies. All right. So there is that. So that happened. My goodness. Okay, and so we'll do the supply phase real quick. I'll put this Italian HQ out of supplies. It's going to go be reduced, but we'll keep the Italian unit alive. So there's that. So it was actually a pretty good Axis withdrawal there, or Axis defense. And now we're on to the next. Oh, this is the second fortnight, actually. All right. We're now going to switch over. Let's see. Did I make deactivate all those HQs? Let me make sure I did that. Also, I could have advanced with American units. For some reason, I decided not to. I could have done a big logistical operation over here, but I guess I decided not to do that, which is a bit odd. Why these American units didn't move. So that was kind of a big oof. And again, it's like, do I want to respect the operational flow or do I want to like limit the movement of the game? I'm also trying to play both sides, so it's like, I do forget to do things. I'll roll a die, right? Or no, I don't think I'm gonna leave it up to die. I'm gonna activate this HQ. We're gonna go ahead and move these American units forward. They're not very strong, and it's like if you want to move up, it's like be careful because you might be dealing with a German counteroffensive. Um, and so I'm obviously playing the game in hindsight, right? That's another aspect to kind of point out. But yeah, let's go ahead and move up this British unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to go ahead and move up this American unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think I'm going to leave it there just to make sure I'm out of range of the Axis if the Axis do decide to attack. So I want to like gain as much ground as I can without necessarily um attacking or fighting the Germans. So I'm going to do that. So those 2 supreme moves in the Mediterranean front. And now we can switch over to the Soviets. I think the Soviets are going to pass the turn because they just don't have the HQs and everything available. And we're not going to reduce Stavka if we don't have to, but this would be a good opportunity to counterattack the Germans, right? I don't think I have any units available to counterattack, to launch a strategic offensive, but we did launch counterstrokes. But we have yet to launch an actual Soviet offensive, but I believe Soviet offensive could be on its way. But I guess the main theme here is that we've prioritized counterstrokes like, tactical operational counteroffensives, which are presumably counteroffensives. So the Soviets have been launching a number of operations, but they haven't actually launched large-scale strategic operations. I think that's kind of the nature of the fighting. Lots of T-34 waves being sent forward against, advancing German infantry divisions or infantry formations, presumably. But it is a fight between the infantry and whatever armor they can gather, basically. And artillery as well. But I would say a lot of it is, I'm sure there's a lot of tanks involved. I don't know how many tanks have been involved in this battle. How many tanks did the Red Army lose there? Probably at least 500 tanks. The Germans, on the other hand, didn't lose any tanks, apparently, but they lost 132,000 troops, right? I mean, they must have lost like Sturmgeschütz and things of that nature, assault guns. All right, we'll switch over to the Germans, and then I think we'll wrap up this turn. I really want to evacuate this Italian unit. Don't leave it behind. So I think I'm going to go ahead, as unwise as it may be, I'm going to go ahead and activate this OKW. I'm going to activate again. I'm going to pull out this Italian army and bring it to Tunis. It's going to evacuate, of course. I'm going to keep it alive. I'm going to try to hold this position as long as I can. So that is 2 strategic moves, actually, and that's it. That's all we can do. And then on the Eastern Front, I do have another HQ. I'm gonna go ahead and activate Army Group A, and I'm just gonna like buffer the front line with as many like full strength units as I can. That's the idea. So like this unit probably, I guess we'll go back here. This unit will go into here. This armored unit can pull out. I guess I'll put it like here. Not the best position. And then I'll put that there. And I don't think I'm gonna attack. Oh, did I pull out? Oh yeah, I did. Um, and then I still have, so I had 1 unit in, 1 unit out. Um, I can put 1 more unit in, and then I'll put 1 more unit out, like so. And I just want to make sure that these positions are just nice and stacked up with juicy units. Nice juicy units. It's got to be juicy. Now, of course, we could try to attack. I'm thinking for now, because of the winter time, we kind of hold off on attacks, or we try to keep the pressure on the Soviets. The pressure seems to be having some kind of effect. So I'm thinking, let's try to attack wherever we can, actually. I think it does pay off. But like, let's not over attack either, right? But like, we clearly need more reserves. We need more reserves for sure. These attacks are pretty makeshift attacks, but if it means putting even the slightest bit of pressure on the Red Army, I think it's in our strategic favor as far as this war of attrition goes. It's a very attritional war that's happening right now, and it shows. So let's go ahead and attack was Heist. Don't think if the Soviets could have counterattacked, they would have. So it's like, let's try to attack here and see what we can do. The Soviets are very well defended. This HQ is disrupted. And also, what's the other aspect? We got an airstrike here. So the Luftwaffe is working overtime. but it's not doing enough. And the Soviets are dug in strongly. Like we're not going to be able to break through these positions with these type of attacks, with these nations. And the Soviets score 3 hits. Fantastic. All right, so very bad for the Germans. Um, I was hoping to avoid like heavy casualties there, but Panzer Corps, nice. Nice. Yeah, but the Panzer, I mean the Panzer and the infantry and the assault guns and everything. I'm assuming the Germans are producing assault guns like mad right now. Or at least they're basically throwing in whatever equipment they have. They're suffering a lot of casualties in infantry, so presumably it's probably what's their main weapon right now? I would imagine it's something like PaK-40s that are used in like an offensive manner. Maybe it's mortar fire, artillery, of course, 105 millimeters for sure, 150 millimeters as well. But pretty much everything that they're familiar with within World War I, except that the fighting is a little bit more open space than in like the Western Front of World War One. It's not like a no man's land necessarily. Not everywhere, I don't think. So the artillery fire is not that heavy, but it is going to be heavy. I don't know how many tons of artillery shells they're firing, but it's probably, probably the highest amount of artillery fire that has ever been used up until this point in history. If this was our like alternative history, I don't know. I'm assuming I know it's in the thousands of tons of shells of artillery fire, mortar fire, and then armored vehicles advancing. And presumably it's a very Stalingrad, kind of like a Stalingrad scenario. But the reality about Stalingrad is that people think that Stalingrad is like this house to house fighting, like in apartments. Yes, in the urban sectors. Stalingrad was not a fully urbanized city. There was a lot of like suburbs in Stalingrad, basically. And obviously in the factories districts, there was very, very heavy, like, room to room fighting. But here we're fighting in was Heights, which is a foresty terrain. And so it's not a very like industrial area. It's probably analogous to Battle of Moscow, 1941. It's probably similar to that, except it's more dense, I think. The fighting is slightly more dense. But like, let's see if we can find some photographs of equipment. Here is a group of Germans, and this right here is an assault gun, right? So, but these towns have probably been like bombarded, destroyed, but they had assault guns in 41, 42. So they probably, I think it was in 41 they had about 300 Stugs. I don't know if the production has changed all that much, but like that's a question to ask like Copilot, how many Stugs, threes were in 1942 Stalingrad, say. I asked the question, it didn't give me an answer. There's a database here. It's a database of photos. Okay. Here's a website called World War II Database.com. I know that it's not 100% accurate. I don't know what the accuracy is, but it's not like it may be like 99, 98% accurate. Or I think it's less because I remember looking at some U-boat statistics that weren't exactly correct. But let's see here. I don't want to be like too critical. Like I don't want to be that guy who's like criticizing every World War II source that you find. But Stug vehicles fired. This is very interesting. Fired 315,280 rounds in combat, presumably in May 1944. To illustrate, between December 43 and May 44. Okay, that's a very interesting statistic. And only 16%, 3% of which were targeted enemy armored vehicles. Wow. That's a really interesting statistic. So that may be actually kind of analogous to what we got here. In 1942, the variant designs Sturmhaubitze, well, 42 was developed. Yeah, the Stu 42, which had a 105 millimeter howitzer. That was in 42, so presumably we got some of those, which refocused the role as infantry support vehicles. Between October 42 and 45, 1,200 were built. All right, but my question is how many were built in 42? At the start of 42, factories were turning out only 45 units per month. By the end of 42, the figure would grow to 120. So presumably, like in a 12 months time span, 120 times 12 is what? 1,440. So, I mean, here in this battle, since the battle took place, I would say that there's probably something on the order of around 1,000 studs, and I'm assuming that all of them are fully operational. because they were very easy to maintain vehicles. They were even easier to maintain than the Panzer III. So you're looking at the order of around 1,000 Stugs, I would presume. And I don't know if they've all been destroyed or not, but like maybe the production rate has gone up a little bit, maybe to like 150. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the production works in this game. Um, but presumably, yeah, about 1,000 Stugs. I think it's like it would be really good to know, how many Stugs per regiment. What was the actual formation? I'm surprised that we're not actually getting answers on these questions, right? Come on, AI. Like, these are really simple questions. But they were part of the artillery regiment. Sturmi. That was in Finland. 30 studs in Finland. Presumably, there's some Finnish units fighting as well. There's the myth of the Sturmgeschütz War College. I don't want to get too deep into all of this. Oh, okay, but here it says every division. Oh gosh, I almost lost it. Where is it? Oh, it was here a moment ago. Backspace, forward space. It was around here, guys. I had it. Um, one moment. There's something about divisions. I had it here. It was saying, oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Every division should have one battalion with 3 batteries, each with 6 stugs. Thus, only 18 stugs in total. That's nuts. You're telling me, oh my God, this is militaryhistoryvisualized.com. He has a website. Oh my gosh, of course he would. This guy knows about the stug. Oh my gosh, he has a website. Good for him. That's really cool. Good. Awesome. All right. So yeah, this is my source material, guys. Militaryhistory.com. Check it out. But he said 18. But like, what year was that? I was presuming that was like 40 or 41. Right. Yeah. So I think that was around 1940. But this is okay. 1935. He's talking about the early era. Every division. Da da da. Okay, there was a source, but numbers would without context can be misleading. So let's look at a weapon system with a similar role in its numbers. This would be the light infantry support gun. In a regular German infantry division in 1940, only 20 of these were present. Thus, the number of 18 slugs is actually not that low as it might appear at first glance. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, the Germans were very under-equipped in terms of volume of equipment. Only 2 batteries were operational, whereas 180 would have been necessary to equip all active divisions in May 1940. Huh. So we're in 42. That's 2 years later. I'm assuming it's like 3 to 4 times more than that. So I'm making assumptions here, which you can do as a scientist, but it's unadvised to do assumptions. Presumptions are more valuable. But I am presuming, based off of the information I have here, that if the slug production was about 4 times more in 1942 than was in 1940, I think in the Battle of France, how many studs in the Battle of France, right? And that will seal the deal, right? 24 studs in the Battle of France. Okay, and in what I read, according to the WWII presuming that it's of accuracy of a high enough accuracy, if not 98% accuracy, let's say 89% accuracy, I will say then that um 1,000 divided by 24 is what exactly, right? What's the number there? 1,000 divided by 25, let's say, is 40. You're telling me it's 40 times more than what it was in 1940? Um, because apparently there was only one division with studs in the Battle of France. I think in 1942, every division, almost every division on the Eastern Front had some form of stug. And given the nature of the operations, presumably they're mostly concentrated around Moscow. So it's maybe a reasonable value to say that, also keep in mind that was on the production side, not on the operational side. So it might be less than that. It might be like a times 30 or something like that. Let's go back to what he was saying here. He's talking about 1940, around 180. So 180 would have been necessary to equip all of them in 1940. Presumably, 1,000 or so, 2,000 would have been necessary to equip all of them in 42. Um, so by the end of 42, around 27 Slug battalions were operational on the Eastern Front. That's the figure that I'm looking for. Okay, and he says he was saying something else, right? He said okay, with 6 thugs, every division should have one battalion with 3 batteries, each with 6 thugs, so that's 18 slugs total. So basically 18 slugs per battalion. There is 27 battalions. Furthermore, this required strength increased from 22 to 31 studs, so it's about 18. So let's say it's 31. I would have said it would have been about 40 in this battle. So 40 times 27, what is that? I don't know the exact math off of the top of my head. I kind of want to try to do it in my head. 54, 54 times 2 is 108. So you're looking at around 1,080 studs on the Eastern Front. I think the figures are speaking for themselves. About 1,000, at least on the production side, that actually makes a lot of sense. If 120 were coming out of by the end of 42 from the production side. So I think that somewhat verifies slightly the information that W'42database.com was talking about, right? They said 120 were coming out per month in by the end of 42 at the right here it is. Right, you know, at the start of 42, factories were only putting out 45 units per month, 1 battalion per month, almost, or two. By the end of 42, the figure would grow to 120. That's about 5 battalions per month, arming with studs. So I think the figures are pretty reasonable, about 1,000 studs by the end of 42, and a casualty rate there, I'm not exactly sure, but I would say probably about 1,000 have been destroyed already. And you can call them tanks. For every stud right now, there's probably about 2 to 3 panzers. So you're looking at around 2 to 3,000, maybe 4,000 damaged or destroyed panzers operationally, and I think it shows. But the Germans are doing pretty well logistically at the present moment because they opened up Leningrad. I think that's why Leningrad is actually so high production-wise for the Axis. I wasn't sure earlier, but like you can send supplies via sea directly from Germany to Leningrad. You can send supplies all the way to Leningrad, and I think it's much simpler doing that, partly simpler doing that via sea than having to do everything via rail. You can use ships to expand your logistical supply hub. And it's like Leningrad would have been a very valuable supply hub for the Axis if it was taken. Again, why they didn't take Leningrad, I have no idea. The more I study it, the more I'm realizing that Leningrad was like quintessential to conquering the Soviet Union, and they never took it. And they could have done it. I'm pretty sure it would have been very possible to pull off. And decided they went all the way out to Stalingrad. They decided to attack Stalingrad and not Leningrad, and I think it was because of the limited oil. I think it had a lot of it had to do with oil. I think that's the short answer. But like I don't know. I think there was more to unpack there. Anyways, that's it for the Axis. We can now do production. And let's do that production for sure. Yeah, start with the Western Front production. I still have Mediterranean Front production right now, actually, which is very interesting. It's at 30. And then I have oh, okay, no, it's actually very low. It's at 12, it's at 10. No, it's at 15. All right, so that's actually pretty good for the Mediterranean front. Um, let's go ahead and roll 3 dice. And I got 12. That's enough to build up the HQ. That's what we want to do, build up the Africa Corps HQ. And that's really it for the Mediterranean front. Now we can do Western front production, which is very high. It's at 32. That's what I like to see. It's at 32. And we gotta just keep building just nice and steady, nice and steady. Be nice and steady with it. Build up this armored unit, build up this HQ, build up this I think second HQ we want to build. Um I'm gonna try to build up some HQs. So what is that? That's 28 that I've built. And then build up this as well. Oh, you know what? I think we have to protect Rotterdam as well. Otherwise, the British are going to be able to do a river assault and across. No, I'm not going to do that. The British could launch an amphibious invasion of Rotterdam and take Rotterdam for peace sake. We're definitely gambling here with the Axis. So go ahead and build this guy up. That's 12 plus another what is that? 20? That's 32. I'm not even building up OKW, which is kind of dumb. No, we're not. We're gonna cancel that. We're gonna build this stuff. We need to build that up. All right. Yeah, we definitely can build up that HQ for sure. All right, and that's it. I think just nice, steady, easy, slow, consistent production is the way to go. And today, yeah, is December, not, oh, this is actually January production. Given the weather, I kind of want to attack as soon as possible. So you know what? I'm gonna cancel this armored build. I think I'm actually gonna cancel the HQ build actually. So I have 10 production points left. Um, huh. No, the situation is rough. It's a little rough. It's a little bit more rough than I thought. So this is January production, right? Oh, oh no, we already spent that. So hold on. Yeah, we're in January. I don't think we're gonna be able to launch an offensive until March. Seems like to me. So yeah, if that's the case, then I'm gonna have to just stick to my guns on this one. Yeah, so I built those two up. So that was 12 plus 10, that's 22, 32. Yeah. I probably shouldn't have not been built built or bent like yeah. Um the Cap production. Let's see what the Germans have for reinforcements. Something that I kind of slipped up on doing. Oh, okay, we're in January. All right, we still got more infantry coming in. Let's go ahead and put another infantry option there. And I think I'll go ahead and put this infantry, this HQ in Paris. I think it's pretty reasonable. Yeah, pretty reasonable. But we got lots of infantry, and that's the idea. We need to like beefing up our infantry for sure. Because I think the first attack that we do is gonna have to be an infantry attack. It's gonna have to be. I have no choice but to make it an infantry attack. Um, yeah, it's gonna have to be an infantry attack. I think it's the bottom line. Um, I think the sooner we attack, the better. That's what I'm trying to do. But I think we're gonna have to attack in waves. Clearly, it's gonna have to be a wave attack. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to. No, I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're gonna definitely we're gonna gamble our attack here. Um, you know what? I'm actually going to cancel this armored build, and then I'm gonna build this unit instead. And then I have 2 production points left over though, and it's like, what else do I build? Do I toss out those 2 production points? Do I cancel an infantry build? Do I cancel an HQ build? I don't think I can cancel any production build right now. I think I'm gonna toss out those 2 production points. To me, ideally, we can build up, maybe we can build up a militia unit. Yeah, let's do that. I think that costs 2 at the cadre level. Put that there. Oh, you know what? Oh, yeah, I got it. I'm gonna put this, oh, yeah, we'll put this infantry. I gotta let's not forget about Italy. Let's not forget about the defense in Italy. I'm actually gonna put this 58th in Rome. Start fortifying Rome as quickly as I can. And then we got 2 more HQs to build. We can obviously build more Italian units. Actually, these are all restricted, so no. But we want to keep Italy in the war as long as possible. So, but I want to start like preparing kind of a strategic defense of Italy if I can. So yeah, and then we also have Yugoslavia. The Yugoslavian partisans are active, and it's like what to do about that, right? It's like nothing, nothing for now. But the Yugoslavians did cut off the supplies. It is out of supplies. I should make this unit out of supplies. Oh, whoa, I don't know what I did there. Kinda cool. Oh, that's when you're playing live. You can play live with people, by the way. It's another thing too. You can play live on the game for sure. It doesn't have to be log file. We can actually play the game live, which is another way of playing the game, and you can play it through the Vassal engine. So, something else just to say, point out to you guys, if you guys want to play, you know, let me know. All right, now Eastern Front production. This is the juicer. Eastern Front production now is at 92, just a stack of production for the Axis. It's been very nice. Build up OKH, build up these two HQs, so now I'm down to 62. And then the remainder is basically going to be built on ground units. We never attacked Murmansk, right? I just been so busy attacking Moscow. I decided not to attack Murmansk, but I think it's now time to consider attacking. But let's build up our infantry. 1, 2, 3, 4, and armor. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 is 56, so I have 6 left. And then boom, just like that. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna build. Simple production for the Axis. Very, very, very straightforward. We haven't taken Crimea, but we probably should. I think we might take like these positions in Moscow first. I think if we could take Moscow first, ideally, but like maybe I don't want to divert any operation towards Crimea. It's going to be a massive operation, and it's like we should probably because the Soviets could, in theory, land in Romania, although I have it pretty well defended right now. They could land in Nikolaev, and that will be just a pain in the neck if they do successfully land. And it's like the Soviets could start doing stuff like that, and they probably should. So I do believe it's in our interest to probably send at least another infantry unit to Nikolaev. And I think I know what to do on the future turn. I'm actually going to build up this infantry unit. It's 84th, and I'm going to send it to Nikolaev and let it sit there. And then maybe we can build up an armored unit and so on, all in due time. Since I already did the Axis production, I'm not trying to like redo turns again and again. But I think that was a pretty good turn. Now we can switch to the Soviets. And then let's go ahead and do Soviet production. Soviet production should be quite strong. It's at 65 according to what I have calculated here because of the Lend-Lease. Basically, the Soviet economy has survived the German onslaught. So let's go ahead and build up. Probably going to focus on building up HQs. A lot of HQ building going on all the fronts. But like if the Soviets want to launch counterattacks, we also want to build this dead pile too. Something else to be aware of. Um, I don't think I've been trying to play the Soviet style, like the historical Soviet play style, which is strictly focused on infantry building, but I don't think it's gonna work. It has been working, I guess, a little bit to hold off to stop the German onslaught, but it's not enough to give us a strategic initiative. We have to do more than build infantry. We have to attack the German army on the strategic side, not necessarily on the operational side. I think we've matched the Germans operationally, but if we want to win this war, we have to attack strategically somewhere along the Eastern Front. Strategic, strato operational. All right, so stratego operational, something like that. If I were Italian, it'd be something like that. I spent half the production on HQs. I need another half, right? And that's the challenge right now. It's like I have half for HQs, half for rebuilding Padre units, the other half to replenish casualties. And so I haven't had time to rebuild more cadre because I've been focusing on casualties so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So now I'm at 48, and it's like I have 65, so I almost have about 20 left. That was actually pretty cheap. I have 20 left. almost a little bit less. 20 minus 3, I have 17 left, right? 48 plus 17 is 65. I think that's correct. 15, yeah, it's 65. So then we'll move this guy up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Um, trying to build up this cavalry. 6, 7, 8. Um, 14. And then 15, 16, 17, and that's it. That's all she wrote. You know what? I wanted to build up more cadre, more raw infantry, right? Because we need more raw infantry. But it's like I decided to build up a militia unit, and this unit over here. Very, very weird situation for the Soviets, I'll tell you. Um, I think it's a pretty good production run. It's all right. It has a little bit of 41 elements. Um, but like you definitely want to build up as many units as you can. So that's it with the Soviets. I don't know if that was a very historically accurate move, but I think it's okay. Somewhat historical, somewhat not historical. Build up 2 HQs though, and build up all these infantry, so we're ready to counterattack. And I think that's the main idea, is that we want to launch a counter stroke wherever we can against the Germans. And I think that's where our priority is going to lie. The rest of the units are going to have to be like cadre or below, basically. Now we can switch over to the Western Allies, right? The coalition, and see what we can cook up with the West. Very interesting production, I'll tell you. The Mediterranean front is at 40, or is at 35 rather. And then Western front production is at 27. So I think the first thing we're going to do is actually transfer, um, give the Soviets more production. I think for the rest of the game, I think I've decided we're gonna transfer production to the Soviets every time. As much lend-lease as we can. The Soviets need every little bit of juice that they can get their hands on. So that's gonna be for February of 42. And then over here, what is the other aspect over here? I can put a little label there and mark it as 42. I don't think there's any 42 markers. Um, but like I could put like a second front marker there to kind of indicate that it's like part of the initiative. I could do something like that. I think it'd be kind of interesting to do it. But I already put the marker somewhere else. I could put a little blue marker, or I can just trust myself to see if I can remember this for the next turn. Um, and then all in good practice. And then that brings us down to 17 production on the Western Front. Go ahead and build up the Supreme HQ. That leaves us with 7, which is not really all that great. I also, this HQ, actually, no, I'm going to build up this 15th HQ instead. And I want to transfer this to the Mediterranean front. It is slowing down our progress into North Africa for sure. But I think we're making good headway. We're making very good headway. Yeah, we're making good headway. So I think we're going to take North Africa regardless. Let's go ahead. We have 35 production. Let's roll the 7 die. 2, 4, 3, that's 9. Plus 7 is 16. Plus another 7 is 23. I did my math right there. Let me verify. 7 plus 9. 14 plus 9 is 23, right? So yeah, just build up this HQ and that's it. That costs 20 production points as it is. Now we have 7 left. And we can actually transfer those 7 through Casablanca, and we have actually 10 in total. So I think I can go ahead. Let me see the cost of a mountain unit. It's 8, infantry is 6. So dang it, I have 10 production points left over. Nothing more to build for the Allies. I mean, all their militia are built up. So I have 10. Let's go ahead and build up this mountain unit that costs 8, and then leave it at that. So we have a coalition over here. The only problem is that it's not very strong. It's just not. It's not very strong. Um, we need more. You know what? I'm actually going to cancel that build with 10. Um, yeah, we really do need more HQs. No, no, I'll go ahead and undo that undo. Can I undo that undo? I don't think so. Um, let me see here. What else can I do with 10? With 10 production points? I was thinking about building up this Mediterranean HQ instead. And that leaves me with 5 production points left over for the Allies. 3 from the Mediterranean. Or actually, like I have either Mediterranean or Western. And it's like, well, I already transferred 10 to the Eastern Front. I got 5 left over, and it's like I don't have anything I can really build with 5. So it goes to show you just how messy the logistics are right now for the Allies. You have 5 production points. I don't think it's wise to abandon that production. I'm pretty sure we want to use it for something, but I don't really have any other units to use it for. It's like, why am I even transferring units to the west? And it's like, I don't have anything more that we can build with the allies. And so it's like, I guess those 5 were lost to U-boats, presumably. I guess it was a successful U-boat month, apparently, January 43. I think that's the only way. That's the only metric I have is that the U-boats somehow they had an extra win there, or something. There was something that happened that reduced the loss of the logistics. I think it was the timing of a lot of operations. And it had to be the U-boats. That's the only explanation I have is that it had to have been come from the U-boats, or like ships were crashing into one another, or the Allies somehow made a mistake. Um, Yeah, and I guess it was the U-boats after all. It must have been the U-boats in the Mediterranean. On the way to the Mediterranean. It had to be the U-boats. And the Luftwaffe probably as well. Operating in the Mediterranean Sea, sinking some British ships. There were some major naval operations that are happening, but presumably all that additional cost is not wasted. I think it probably went into naval operations, is my best guess. And like actual like naval battles that this game doesn't depict. It would be kind of interesting to kind of analyze that actually. Um, what's the equivalent of 5 production points in naval costs in a game like this? I have no idea. But I know that it's probably the equivalent of a division. How many ships does it take to transport a division? Well, typically a transport ship is about 1,000 personnel, and a division is, about 15 to 20,000. So, the crew on the ship is, I said 1,000, right? Yeah, that might be an overestimation there. But if it is 1,000, I know that a battleship has a crew of 1,000, but an actual transport cargo ship, let's look it up. How many? Oh, excuse me. How many cargo ships? How many crew were in cargo ship? Were in cargo Liberty ship? Let's see. 62 civilian merchant sailors. Oh, that's nothing. Oh my gosh, the Liberty ship is so cool. They were all built in Baltimore too, and they definitely had Liberty ships by 42. Or how many people max were in cargo ships? I'm thinking of like a Band of Brothers episode. So it could carry 10,000 tons of cargo. I'm not really sure what that means. Tons of cargo. It's a lot. 212 days completion, but like how many troops? How many infantry? It's a very specific question. I might have to ask like another chatbot because no one. I mean, it's such a simple question, right? Yeah, yeah. They tell you how many tons, but they don't tell me how many personnel. I want to know how many people. It's not even on the first page of Bing. I would think Bing would have the answer. Yeah, Bing is Bing is not bad. I guess I'm gonna have to go on Wikipedia, guys. Look it up. Because of time, I don't want to be here too long. But I'm assuming, I would guess like something along the lines of like a company at the very least. At the least, a company could probably fit on a cargo ship. Band of Brothers, right? It was like a whole company. So I would guess it's about a company. A company is what? About 3 to 4 platoons. Each platoon numbers usually between about can be anywhere from 50 to 200 men. So a company can be like 200 to like 500 men or something along those lines. So you got to do the math on that, right? How many Liberty ships for a division, right? Ships to carry a division. These are the questions that like, I think deserve to be answered. I know that historians somebody knows, but like it's not mainstream apparently these questions. So again, I mean, I just like, damn, maybe I could have joined the Merchant Marine, right? You have to be on a boat for that, for sure. I'm gonna go with the number that it's about a company. Because I remember the Band of Brothers episode, right? Like this is my source, right? Brothers episode Liberty Ship. When there's like one scene in the movie or in the HBO series where they're on the ship. It's not when they're at the airfield, it's when they're on the ship. As far as if I'm just like doing it visually, I mean, I would say it was the equivalent of like 4 cargo planes, one Liberty ship apparently. And we're also presuming all carrying all the tons of supplies. And so, another thing I can do is Liberty ship max crew. Let me look for the word max. That's what I used to do. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was from 300 to 500. Excuse me. I was right. Not left. So 300 to 500. So, yeah. So if a division is comprised of 15,000 troops, let's say it's 500 or 400. You're looking at the order of what? Times 40? About 40 Liberty ships that would be required to carry one division. So presumably, the Axis or sunk about 40 Liberty ships right now. They sunk a whole division worth of troops at sea. How did they do it? How many tons of shipping was that? Apparently, it's 400,000 tons of shipping. Because one Liberty ship can carry 10,000 tons. So let's see. Battle of Atlantic, tons of shipping sunk per month. Let's see. This is where database, .com database is actually pretty useful. Excuse me. Excuse you, actually. Here it is. These are tons of shipping in the millions. Oh my gosh. Look at it. I mean, May 45 million tons. So 5 million divided by 10,000. 5 million that's 50 ships sunk in the month of May, right? One ship, 10,000. 10,000 times, what is that? 50? Oh my gosh, it might be 500. Okay, okay, hold on. A million has 6 zeros. 10,000 has 4 zeros. So you're missing 2 zeros. It's 500 ships that were sunk? Is that math correct? That seems very high to me. How many total Allied shipping sunk? Oh my gosh. Oh, imports to Ally. Oh, okay. 500 ships were traveling per month. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So, okay, so total sunk. Okay, 150, that means 15 ships were sunk. 16, 5, 10, 13, 17, 7, 5, 22 were sunk in May 40. Okay, that's pretty high. Now, I want to see the figures in the later stages of the war. It doesn't show the total, oddly enough. December 41. So this data table is incomplete. Okay, German. Oh, it says German tells you how many German submarines were lost, but total Allied shipping sunk. I guess they're not doing the totals. I guess somebody wants to do the. We have to do the totals ourselves. Sunk by U-boats, I guess is the main number. There was that time where I think there was a million per month. Pretty sure. I think it was like in the 42. I guess it was a million per year. Here's one that's 600. So that's 60, 70 by U-boat, 47, 54, 48, 62, 72 or 73, 33, 20, 36, 62. So that was pretty high. And I guess the casualties started to go down as the war progressed. 24, but like no different than 41. Here I think is what, 6, 8, 9, 14. Was there any higher months and later months of the year? I guess in 45 it goes up again. 5, 6, 7. In 44 there was 10 that were sunk. In March 44 it was 14. So it was pretty consistent even in the later stages of the fighting. It was nothing compared to 72, right? It was nothing compared to 42 or 41. I think 41 was also pretty high. But I mean, it's similar to what we had in May 40, or 1940, right? May 40 is 55. That's actually still pretty high. Or no, no, excuse me, it's 5. Yeah, it's 5. Yeah, so it is kind of like, 1940 when, before the Battle of France, right? So my point is that about 40 Liberty ships were lost, is my calculation. Ugh, that does not seem correct at all. I said 40 were lost because each ship carries 500 troops, and you need 40 Liberty ships to carry over um 40 times 500 is 20,000, right? 500 times 40 is 20,000. And so it's not 500 times 4, that's 2,000. It's 500 times 40, it's 20,000. So you're telling me 20,000 labor ships were sunk? I mean, yeah, apparently. That actually might be a reasonable figure in for a case like you know, December 41. In other words, yeah, for every production point lost, you lose 5 ships. Or excuse me, I think it's 4 ships. I lost 5 production points. It's 40 ships, apparently. So that's 8. I'm not sure what that number is exactly. Um, I'm kind of doing this in my head, right? But it's like if you've got 40 Liberty ships equals 5 production points. Therefore, right? Therefore, if you got that, then um, 8 Liberty ships equals 1 production point. That's the calculation. So, which also is therefore such that such that um 1 production point equals 80,000 tons of shipping of sinking. That's fascinating to me. Very cool. All right, so yeah, apparently we lost that what is that? That times 5, 400,000 tons of shipping. That's the calculation I arrived at. That's a very high month of U-boat, very successful month for the U-boats, apparently. It had to have been the U-boats for sure. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and just get rid of all that. Or you know what? I can put it there. There you go. You guys can enjoy the data. let's go ahead and start the file. Or let's go ahead and start the whatchamacallit. Uh what's it called here? Let's go ahead and start the continue rather the journey of transportation technically. All right, we're gonna go. I think I'm gonna even blitz. No, I don't have to blitz. In fact, we don't even have to do anything. British don't even have to do anything. Why even bother attacking when we can? I think because of time, I'm gonna undo the undo again. We are gonna attack. I'm gonna just go ahead and yeah, all the units were in supplies. Thank goodness. I'm gonna move this unit forward, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I think move the armored core forward, like so. And then I'm just gonna deactivate this HQ. And then it can only move one, put it right there. We're not even gonna attack Tripoli. Oh, but you know what? Oh my gosh, we do have to attack it. Otherwise, I thought it was in no supplies. My mistake. No, we should attack it. But we're attacking with a very light formation. We're trying to advance onto Tunisia as swiftly as we can. That's the main plan. And then I'll go ahead and activate this Mediterranean HQ. And we'll move this unit by road 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that, and get it on its way to Tripoli as soon as feasibly possible. All right, let's do the attack. If we fail, then oh, they don't even have. We didn't even need the airstrike. The airstrike is overkill. So I was right, actually. We could have attacked. Oh, actually, no, or maybe not. Um, I think a unit at 0 automatically surrenders, but this is not a militia unit. Yeah, we did have to attack. We attacked the HQ, and I think the Italian general probably stayed behind. I don't know his name, but yeah, I think he would have stayed behind and probably surrendered to the. In fact, officially, Italian's general surrendered, but Rommel is still active. I think that's kind of the idea. But he was a very interesting general, very cool general. We can do a video about him in the future. I don't know what happened to him. So there's that. All right. There's that for sure. Yeah, sad story. That's it for the British. Switch over to the Soviets. Do the Soviets want a counter-offensive? The short answer is maybe, maybe not. I'm thinking the Soviets should try to attack, try to shake the put the pain back into the Germans, or we kind of stick to our good old-fashioned formula, which is counterstroke. Counterstroke the counterstroke. Keep counterstroking. That's it. We're gonna move the 16th forward, 18th forward. 33rd can move up north. Um, I'll move the 19th into here, Kaluga. And oh, you know what? I could move a mech forward out of there as well. Actually, would probably be better. Only one unit in, one unit out. And I think I'm gonna keep the rotation going. So I did 1, 2, 3. Oh, I gotta pull a unit out here. 4. Yeah, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you know what? I think I'm overdoing it. Um, but I want to like be as strict as I can with these moves. Well, let's go ahead and move this Southern HQ to Sebastopol. Finally, I'm gonna do that. That's it. Deactivate. So that's it for the Soviets. No need to do any like fancy schmancy attacks. Not yet. We're gonna hold fast, hold position, hold, and we're gonna keep holding. We are holding. And that's it for the Soviets. No offensive operation at the present moment. Keep in mind that if the Germans do break through at Klin, the entire northern flank at Moscow is completely exposed. All right, we're going to switch over to the Axis. What do the Axis want to do? I think the Axis should do something. I think the main operational goal here is rotation. We probably should keep attacking. I'm thinking like we attack just non-stop, right? And it's like that's the idea, man. We gotta grind down the Soviet position, but I think I'm also thinking, we gotta like start attacking somewhere else as well. We got very strong infantry here in the north. I kind of want to keep that infantry army nice and strong. I'm also gonna do the same for the Germans. And I'm also gonna use these blocks or these markers and just start like creating names of armies. Kind of cool. I'll put this here. I don't know what army this is. Well, I'll just give it a random name for now, the 11th. 11th. 11th Army. I think that might be correct. But it's like, we do want to like put pressure on this northern flank, but I don't think right now is the time to do it. Um, do we want to attack anywhere else? I mean, let's try to attack, why don't you attack over here in the north at, whatchamacallit, Minsk, or Murmansk rather. Airstrike, I think it's also disrupted the HQ. Well, we do have air support, double fire. Let's go ahead and activate. I think I almost want to like do kind of like a mini blitz or something. We have very strong production. Um, very strong. Let's go ahead and activate Army Group A, I believe. Um, I think I want to like take a break from the attacks so that we can really strike hard at a later time. I think that's the idea. Oh, you know what? No, I'm gonna move both infantry units in. These two infantry units can go out. I have a fortress unit there, so it's pretty well fortified. Those two units there. We got to be careful with that northern flank. You got to be extra careful with that northern flank. Let's go ahead and move this army unit there. I think that's what we're gonna do. Um, and then let's see. Put this infantry unit there. And then, yeah, we don't have any armor reserves at the present moment. What the fuck? Like none. Zilch. No armor unit reserves of any kind, which to me seems a bit odd. Yeah, to me it's kind of strange, kind of kind of weird. This armor unit here. Um, oh, you know what? What am I doing? I'm moving this unit way over there. I move this unit. This unit can't go in there. This unit gonna go out. That unit went out. That unit went out. Oh, that unit went out there. I want to put, oh, you know what? Okay, I got it. No, so we'll cancel this move here, and I guess we'll put the armored unit in there. So it's like, bring it, Soviets. You want to attack us? Bring it on. But we desperately need, um, like more movement. So not the wisest thing to use Army Group A. I'll say that much. It was not the wisest move to do that. But there's that. I mean, there's not much more that I can really do on that. Just trying to get everything organized. And then I go ahead and activate OKH. I believe I'll save it for the next turn because I can operate on the Western Front, but we obviously want to like do something about our situation. I think we're gonna pass. There's not much more I really want to do on the Western Front or Eastern Front, really. Just be like as economical as I can with production. That's the key. And dominate the production side, which the Axis apparently can do very well right now. More studs. And with that, I don't think there's a need to attack yet. We can attack in other areas and we can attack in other ways. We just have to take our time. Now I don't know how Germany's doing because of time. I mean, oil-wise, they have like no problems with oil in this game, so that's kind of interesting to me that there isn't an oil shortage at the present moment. And I think maybe that's something that the German army historically misjudged. I mean, they were able to fight tooth and nail in 43 and 44, and they never reached Baku. They never gained additional oil. Not really, not in significant volumes. I think they underestimated how much they could have extracted from Ploiești. And in 43, I think Ploiești was pumping out oil like no other. But he obviously Hitler was thinking in larger terms. I think that might be more along the lines. Obviously, oil was very important. Obviously, there was a shortage of oil, but maybe the army didn't have as much of a shortage as we would argue that they had, given the inefficiencies that they were tackling. And it was really more about streamlining the army itself and being more economical with oil and with fuel that needed to change more than the actual economics of the process, right? I guess that is economics essentially, or logistics is maybe another word. So there's that. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and stop. Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and do this battle appearance before I forget. We have airstrike. Probably should have saved it for the last turn. Oh, there's not that much of a Soviet defense there. Airstrike scores a hit. The Soviets scored 2 hits. We do have double fire though with these mounted infantry. These mounted infantry have taken a beating, I'll tell you. And they do score 1 hit. All right, nice. All right, so I would say relatively even exchange there of casualties. Relatively even exchange. Um, the Axis lose 11. Oh, keep in mind this is oh, I had that for December. Let's go ahead. Let's keep it organized by month. Now we're in January 43. The Axis lose 2. I think they lost more. Oh no, they did. And the Soviets lose 1. So kind of a somewhat insignificant fighting, right? I decided not to attack here. I'm thinking maybe we do attack, like kind of YOLO. YOLO the attack. No, I think we are gonna hold off the attack actually, because the casualties were really bad last month. So it is definitely a Western Front like scenario. Let's move on to the next month. Um, Start with the Allies. The Allies have a pretty clear objective right now. I'm not going to do anything here because mainly because of logistics. Um, but like we are almost connecting our supply lines, so that's kind of interesting. And yeah, I think the British and the Allies are going to pass. Now we'll switch over to the Soviets. I'm pretty sure the Soviets are going to pass as well. We're going to switch to the Germans. I'm going to go straight to the Germans. I don't think the Soviets are going to do anything this turn because they're playing defensively. And it's like you got to be really conservative when you're fighting defensively. Um, no, I think we're going to activate Army Group South. I want to move this HQ here. I'm not going to put it in HQ in Orwell anymore, I don't think. And then I'm going to go ahead and um, oh, maybe I do leave it in Orwell. But like, let's get these areas stacked up with stronger units. 1 unit there, 1 unit there. Pull out an armored unit this way, and that's it. That's the only swap I'll do. 1 unit in, 1 unit out, and that's really all I can do. I'll move this one over here. I guess the order of these HQs doesn't really matter. I keep swapping them around. I know that historically that would have made very little sense, but it works very well in this game. Um, and then let's see, I'll put these 2 infantry units like over here. And then this infantry unit can move south, that like that. That's a much better position that we have. Oh, and then I have another armored unit. I'm actually going to go ahead and move this armored unit to the north. Put it over here. So we're just swapping around, rotating units like crazy. Put this unit over here. Yeah, we're just rotating and rotating and rotating units. And I think that's the game plan. Just keep all these units on rotation so that these areas are stacked up. So now actually we're actually in a pretty good position to consider attacking. Maybe we could even blitz. I'm trying to see production on the next turn, what that's going to look like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about what, 32 production points plus another 30 from HQs. That's about 60, 62, 72. I got 20 production points left over. I guess I can just build that over here, no problem. Yeah, so I think we're doing pretty well in production. Do I want to attack? I probably should attack. But I've decided that I'm going to try to attack at full strength. That's what I'm thinking. And just kind of like build up the casualty, build up the losses, or stack everything up full strength again before we attack, rather than launching these kind of under strength attacks where we lose momentum. I think this is a time to maybe like shift around and try to rebuild momentum. So as much as I want to attack, we can attack right now. I don't expect to see any fancy breakthrough at the moment. So I'm actually, I think I'm going to hold off the attack, which is a very interesting decision to make. But I think I'm going to hold off the attack. We're not going to launch any winter operations. So presumably there are casualties that are still happening on both sides, but they're like not full scale operations. I think casualties actually, when units are in contact in this game, they're automatically losing manpower. But there's like no like change in territory, I guess. It's like more like artillery fire, basically. Casualties with artillery. Go ahead and activate OKH for sure. I want to do more movement on the Western Front. For example, we're going to occupy southern France, which we haven't done yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I kind of want to like occupy all of southern France if I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. And then what else? Any other movement I can do? Um, 8, 9. And then I'll go ahead and pull this guy out. One. Oh, hold on. This unit was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Um, and then there's not much else I can do or that I really want to do. That was 3 strategic moves. I can like maybe move this HQ, this unit, militia unit there. That's 4 strategic moves. I got 2 more left. Oh, let's move some Italian units. Yeah, let's move these Italian units for sure. I'm gonna put 1 unit in Trieste since we've already lost Tripoli. And then I'm also gonna do another one. I'm also thinking like northern Italy is more important than southern Italy at the moment. Let's go ahead and move this to southern Italy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. I think that's pretty good. Pretty good, not bad. Not bad strat moves. And I also have more units over here to move around, kind of expand. Yeah, we can do that on a future turn as well. But for now, I decided to move Italian units and southern France as well. All right, and that's it for OKH. This is the second fortnight, and that's it. We can now move on to production. Let's do the production. 8 for or 10 for the axis here in the Mediterranean. So we'll build up that. We got 32. Build up this. Build up that. Or I guess build up, yeah, build up that. So that's 14. Or no, excuse me, that's 10 actually. 10. Build up this armored unit. That's 18. I think that's right. 14. Oh, no, no. 14 plus 8 is 22. Okay. That's an interesting build. Did I do that correctly? 3. What, 6? What, oh, no, that's 10. No, it was at 18, actually. Build up this here. That's another 10. So that's at 28. And I have 4 left. Yeah, the HQs are pretty weak right now. Let's build up this unit here in Marseille. 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 And man, if I could work on my French, right? What would it be? It would be Marseille, 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 something like that. That's the best I got. And then now we can do the Eastern Front. Let's go ahead and do that. 92 production. Yeah. We're down to 87. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're down to 47. And then, let's see, I think I'm going to be down to 41 real quick. Oh, yeah. Build up these 2 units. Yeah, so that's 41 minus another 12. Now it's down to 28, or actually it's 29. Then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, uh, 6, 7, I think like that. So yeah, we got a lot of infantry, but the armor is weak. And it's like we need strong armor if we want this operation to work operationally. Yeah. I'm doing my best here, doing the best we can. It's really up to this. It's up to the Silvershirts. I mean, if the Silvershirts can't tactically function, there's no hope of taking Moscow. Oh yeah, I think I may pass off for one more turn. We'll have a bunch of reinforcements in 41 or 42 rather. We've got SS Gruppenführer SS. Yeah, pretty obvious what we're gonna do with that. I would say it's pretty obvious what we're gonna do. Obviously, it's obvious. Obviously. Obviously, it's obvious. That's why it's obviously obvious. Um, Question is, I have a reserve, and it's like, do I want to send that to the west or do I want to send it to the east? It really depends on how long it takes to crack this British defense. I'm assuming that by the time the operation ends, the British are going to withdraw. So, I think I'm going to put this in Königsberg. That seems to be a proper place to put it. In Prussia. All right, and now, I think we'll go ahead and keep the turn going a little bit longer. We've already reached, how am I doing on time? I don't want to look at exactly how long this recording has been, but I think we're kind of reaching there, because of time. It's like, I'm pretty sure the wisest thing to do right now is to end the file. But I kind of want to like finish the entire winter scenario. I'm thinking what I'm going to probably do as I I've been quite consistent about is end the file here. We've already kind of experienced what I would say were like the watermark moments of the winter campaign. Now, what's going to follow up next is January and February of the winter period, which has the potential to be another watermark moment. This is very, very, very true for that deep Soviet style of warfare, the deep military penetration. What is that called? The deep Soviet doctrine. Let's look. I have to look at the, oh, the deep battle, what it's called. Deep operation. That's the word I'm looking for. Um, and so there's the potential that there is more deep operation, but it's all about like preserving momentum. And that's the nature of being consistent with anything you do. And it applies very much in operations in something like World War II. So obviously we're in the winter period. There is the possibility that the Soviets are very unpredictable and they may be able to do something very significant during the later stages of the winter. It also, a lot of it has to do with the weather, right? I mean, think of the best example is Manstein's counteroffensive. The entire third Battle of Kursk. The first one was in 41. The second one was in 42. The third one was in 43. The fourth one was in 43. Except it was in the post Kursk 43. And so four battles for Kharkov, and they all were actually quite significant. I mean, studying that would be quite fascinating. Simply the Battle of Kharkov, it captures a lot of the essence. And the Soviets are unpredictable. The weather is unpredictable. We never know what happens. We now have Waffen SS formations, or basically we have Tiger tank battalions that are now just disposable and deployable right now at the present moment, and as of February 43, officially, according to all intelligence on all sides, effectively. So that's a very interesting shift. We don't really have any other more reinforcements to take note of at the moment, but those are some pretty significant reinforcements. And I think because of time, I'm going to save that for the next video series and stay tuned, and we'll end it on this note. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, I think I'm still recording. How's my hair? It's a little, there you go, it's a little better. Let me see. I'll try that one more time. Yeah, take care, guys. Peace out.